yeah, we have these sort of moments of musical awakening. I can remember one particular one. First time I heard Elvis was when my sister, I was a kid at the time, had a friend next door who brought in a record player. And we didn't have a record player at home, just had all the music on the radio. And they went in her bedroom and closed the door, wouldn't let little boys in.
Absolutely.
And they played it, and it came through the door, Elvis Presley singing Hound Dog.
Oh.
And it was, I've never heard anything like it, and probably not since. I thought, ever since then I've had that kind of love of rock and roll, and I just remember that moment of that. And this song, and looking up the song, it's quite interesting because it's written by a couple of guys called Lieber and Stoller, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, very famous rock and roll writers. They wrote it originally for someone called Big Mama Thornton, right, who was big, like 25 stone apparently, black woman, very formidable. And she was a blues singer, but she wanted a hit record, so they wrote her this in sort of more punchy style. And it was several years later that Elvis picked it up. So the song is really written about a woman complaining about a man who's no good to her, right? So he's a hound dog, and you know, she wants him gone. So and when Elvis sang, because he couldn't sing it in those terms, he made it into, and they changed the lyrics, made it much simpler, and in a way it wasn't such a good song, but it was a great rock and roll record, a great sound. So that's where it came from, and that's where it went to. So I'm going to try and sound, not sound like, but maybe do an interpretation of first Big Mama Thornton, use your imagination, and then Elvis. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, it's snooping round my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, snooping round my door. You can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna feed you no more. You told me you was high class, but I can see through that. You told me you was high class, but I can see through that. Daddy, I know you ain't no cool cat. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, be snooping round my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, be snooping round my door. Well, you can wag your tail, but I ain't gonna feed you no more. You make me feel so blue, you make me weep and moan. You make me feel so blue, you make me weep and moan. 'Cause you ain't looking for a woman, you're looking for a home. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, snooping round my door. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, be snooping round my door. Well, you go on and wag your tail, but I ain't gonna feed you no more. Elvis, different key. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Well, you said you was high class, but that was just a lie. You know you said you was high class, that was just a lie. Yeah, you ain't never caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. Yeah, you ain't never caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit.